Today, we're digging into a really serious situation unfolding in Mexico. It's a crisis of forced disappearances, and it's gotten so bad that the United Nations has had to take this pretty exceptional step. So we're going to look at what's really happening, why it's being called a potential crime against humanity, and, what it all means when the rest of the world has to get involved.
And listen, this isn't just speculation or some activist talking point. This is the direct, frankly chilling conclusion from the UN's own Committee on Enforced Disappearances. They have officially stated that what's happening in Mexico isn't just a local problem, it's a crime against humanity.
So that really makes you wonder, right? What could possibly be happening on the ground that is so severe, so out of control that it warrants the attention of the entire planet? Okay, so to get a handle on this, first we really need to understand the sheer scale of the crisis. And I have to warn you, the numbers, well, they're just staggering. They paint a really grim picture.
As of right now, more than 110,000 people are officially registered as missing or disappeared in Mexico. And that isn't just a statistic. You have to remember every single one of those numbers is a person, a family just completely torn apart, a life that is, literally vanished.
And if that wasn't horrifying enough, there's another number. Over 70,000 unidentified bodies that are currently in the care of the state. The UN actually calls this a forensic crisis. It's this terrible bottleneck where the state can't even identify its own dead, which leaves tens of thousands of families just trapped in this awful, painful limbo.
But this number, this one might be the most damning of all, 98%. That's the impunity rate for these crimes. That means for almost every single person who vanishes, nobody is ever held accountable. It sends a terrifying message, really. You can make someone disappear in Mexico and just get away with it.
So those numbers are the terrifying result. But what's the cause? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the mechanics of this whole crisis. It's a story of crime, collusion with the state, and a justice system that is fundamentally broken.
I mean, seriously, how does a country get to a point where tens of thousands of people can just vanish with almost zero consequences? The answer? Well, it points to something way more organized than just random violence.
So to really get this, we need to be crystal clear about the specific crime we're talking about. See, under international law, an enforced disappearance isn't just a kidnapping. It's when organized groups make people vanish, but, and this is the absolute key, with the direct support or, the quiet complicity of public officials.
And this is the main takeaway here. These disappearances are not a bunch of tragic, unrelated incidents. No, as human rights groups have documented over and over, it's a widespread and systematic practice. It's become a feature, not a bug, of how crime and power work in parts of the country.
So how does this system actually work? Well, you've got these huge organized crime groups carrying out these disappearances. They can do it because, in many cases, they're working with public officials. We're talking about criminal groups that are tangled up in the actual political structures. And the whole thing is made possible by a justice system that is so corrupt that the entire cycle just keeps going and going with total impunity.
And here is where the official response just completely falls apart. Authorities tend to treat every disappearance as its own separate case. They investigate one by one, but they don't connect the dots. And when you do that, it's impossible to see the patterns, the networks, the real chains of command, which means the architects of this whole crisis, they never face justice.
It's exactly because of this massive systemic failure that the international community has now stepped in. And that might, just might, create a new path forward. And this brings us right back to that historic decision we started with. For the first time ever, the UN Committee on Enforced Disappearances used a special measure to bring Mexico's situation before the entire UN General Assembly. This is a huge deal. It's a move they saved for only the absolute most severe crises.
Now, it is so important to understand what this action is and what it isn't. This isn't a criminal trial, okay? No one's being put in the dock here. Think of it more like a preventative measure. It's a global SOS flare, fired to mobilize international attention and to rally urgent support for Mexico.
So what does that support actually look like? Well, the UN Committee laid out a pretty clear roadmap. They're calling for international technical help for searches and to deal with that massive forensic crisis. They're calling for money, for financial support. They want specialists who can help untangle those messy links between officials and organized crime. And finally, they want a real mechanism for finding the truth for all the families left behind. It's really a call for a total paradigm shift. Which, of course, leaves us with the ultimate question. Mexico is facing this deeply rooted system of violence, impunity, and collusion that has just devastated its society. And now, with the eyes of the world on it, can this international pressure finally help to break that devastating cycle?
Honestly, the path ahead is so uncertain, but for over 110,000 families, it represents a new and desperately needed glimmer of hope.